started, if you are game, is to just talk not only a bit about what your experience has been doing your course this year at Cambridge. In particular, I was in a session, with the Marshall Scholarship yesterday, and there is a never-ending desire for young Americans to come to some sort of understanding of what the college system looks like in Oxford and Cambridge. And then I don't know whether this will appeal to those or will have direct bearing for those who are on the call today, but I know there is great need for students who are applying for awards that do not require American citizenship, which the scholarship you hold for Part 3 maths falls within that category, to sort of understand what that looks like. So just some things that I know will be of interest long term, if you're willing to share.
Right. So my experience, the school system and funding. Yeah. So yeah. So at Northwestern, I majored in chemical engineering, and then I switched to physics. So by the time I graduated, I was a physicist, and I took ISP for 2 years, and then I didn't finish because I don't have enough time to do that. And the course that I'm doing currently at Cambridge is a master in theoretical physics. Here, because theoretical physics in Cambridge falls under the umbrella of mathematics, so it is actually it's formally called a master in applied mathematics, and it's in the math department. But what I'm doing is actually theoretical physics. Right, and my course is a master, so it's mainly taking classes. Whereas Maddie, well, if she joins, she's doing a PhD, so it's mostly research for her. And I think in the U.S., after college, if one goes to a PhD, then it's a combination of courses and research. So in the first 1 or 2 year, there are courses that's offered. At least that's the case in most of the natural science disciplines. In the first 1 or 2 years, there are courses, and at the same time, you find someone and get started with research. But in UK, it's separated. So most people finish their courses after a master, and in their PhD, they don't take much courses anymore. They simply do their research. Yeah. So what I'm doing is mostly courses, and because Cambridge is very, very famous for its mathematics, so the courses here are offered in a great variety, and they're very rigorous, and yeah, they're very well planned, and basically all the courses that I'm taking right now have been taught in the past 2 or 3 decades, and it has not changed significantly. So the courses here, they all have a historical bearing. So we can find lecture notes from 30 years ago, or exam papers from 20, 30 years ago, and it's more or less the same. And in terms of difficulty, I think Cambridge courses are more difficult than the courses I took at Northwestern. At least in mathematics, it could be different for other disciplines. But since the master is only about courses, there's no research component, so naturally the courses are a bit rigorous. Well, from what I've heard, in other disciplines, probably a business or management master is a bit easier in terms of workload, but well, you have to find internship and stuff. So there are work outside the course. Yeah, I mean, since there's no physics or mathematics major, so I wouldn't really go into details about the courses.
What you say, as someone who did a a master's degree, admittedly many years ago in Cambridge, but in a humanistic discipline. What you're describing for part 3 math is not that different in how courses are constructed in the humanities and social sciences, and that what faculty you're in may not narrowly dictate the subject matter covered, right? So you're in a program that's called, Masters of Advanced, Advanced Studies in Mathematics, though it actually covers a great deal of physics. And I did a program that was housed in the history department that did a great deal of philosophy. And so that kind of structure, I think your description is helpful no matter what someone's field is. And then I would love you to talk a bit about how you found, being at Trinity College in particular, or other colleges where your friends are, what your sort of takeaway on that, the college experience is as a master's level student, which is distinct from what it would be as a doctoral student or as an undergraduate.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So I think for postgrad and undergrad, the college experience could be quite different. So on the younger side, for undergrads, they take classes, and then after classes, they have what is called supervision, which is basically they submit their homework and get feedbacks, and that's all through the college system. So the college will assign professors that supervise them, basically make sure that they've done their homework on time, and also give them some extra information about the class material. So yeah, for undergrads, their supervisor, which is assigned by college, is basically the person that's in charge of everything, like their well-being in general as well as academics. For postgrads, well, for master students, we don't have supervision, so there is nobody really hunting us down and forcing us to finish all the homework on time. But we do have advisors that help us decide what courses to take, and also for folks that doesn't have a PhD, will help them, identifying where to apply, etc., etc. And that supervisor comes from college, so it's not assigned by department, it's not assigned by the university, but it's assigned by college. So academically, college plays a role. Although most of the courses are done in the department. Well, all the courses are offered in departments, but the college does play a role in terms of career directions. Yeah, and also, well, personally, I feel that college is the college system. The most important aspect is the social life part. Yeah, because it's very good actually, because in a college there are people studying all kinds of majors, and you live very close to each other, and you go to the same dining hall, and you participate in all kinds of activities, sports or other social activities together. So you get to know them, you get to know people that in a completely different walk of life. I mean, if I'm doing a PhD in U Chicago very soon, but if I go there, I'm just hanging out with physicists. But in a college, you hang out with, the person that lives next door to me is, well, she's a statistician. Well, across the hall, I got a historian, and there's a biologist. So in different walks of life. So it's very interesting. The college systems allows me to meet people that I otherwise would not have met, which is very nice. And also, college organizes sports events, which I participate. So you're just playing against other colleges, which is very fun. I think all the intramural and Northwestern are based on friend groups. So yeah, you can have like whatever Jamaican football team, stuff like that. But here, like, college will provide you with a friend group, and you just participate. And different colleges, they all have different traditions. For example, rowing is a big part of Cambridge sport. And for example, Trinity's boat club, it has a long history, and we have a very mature program, and we're fairly competitive. And there are also other very competitive colleges, and yeah, and also college will sponsor a lot of activities like going to a local play, um, uh, and various afternoon tea, various free food activities, and also concerts, um, uh, religious activities, which I never participated, um, and various concerts, etc., etc. Yeah, so the college system is very, very unique, and also different colleges have completely different vibes. Um, so um, so yeah, for example, Trinity is very heavily mathematical, um, and we also have a lot of very rich people, very sons of very influential people. For example, King Charles, yeah, he was once at Trinity. So well, because it's very mathematical, and all the mathematics and physics Olympians, gold medalists are here. It's it's like the most depressing college on campus because everybody's studying on their own, and the party scene is embarrassing. But there are other colleges that are more lively um, and less stressful, I guess, with less concentration of Olympiad gold medalists.
Well, I'm pleased to say that the folks on this call can watch the recording of the Marshall Scholarship did a presentation on Cambridge. I was delighted that the woman they had on that call had was enrolled at my old college, Clare, which she had chosen because before she came, she was told it had the friendliest MCR, and MCR is middle common, or basically the graduate social scene for those who are watching this. And so it's a smaller college, one that admitted women long before Trinity deigned to do so. On the other hand, you guys have Newton, we have Watson and Cricket.
Right. Yeah.
But it is true, and we don't have Manny to speak about St. John's, which is similar in many regards to Trinity in terms of being a larger, very well endowed. It had Prince Edward at it rather than Prince Charles, but similar. Both colleges have a reputation for attracting aristocracy, but also having strong cohorts. Do you have friends who are in Churchill or Gonville and Keys or any of the other colleges, either Churchill, which has an actual theme, or Gonville and Keys, Emmanuel, Christ, some of the ones that are somewhat smaller and known for having a more, or Darwin, for example, any of the grad only colleges, because that's something that I think is useful for students to understand as they're making selections in their application, is what it feels like to be at a Trinity, where you've got grads and undergrads, what it feels like to be at a smaller college with grads and undergrads, or what it feels like to be at a graduate only.
Right. I have a lot of acquaintances from grad only colleges, but I'm not that close to them, so we don't really discuss daily life that much. And most of my close friends are either from Trinity or Johns. I actually have quite a lot of friends from Johns. Johns is well, technically they're our rivals, but actually their dining hall is very nice, and it's cheaper, and they recently had a new bar, which is very nice. In Trinity, everything's very old, like all the buildings are 500 years old, and we spend a lot of money preserving them. But Johns, they do more refurnishing and they look nicer. Um, I also have a friend in Fitzwilliam.
Mhm.
It's also a much younger college. It looks very modern. It's small and cozy. Um, yeah, and um, and also all the colleges have formals, and yeah, which is very unique to Americans, I guess. And I've been to Downing. Um, Downing is also very beautiful. Um,
It's 18th century. I mean, it's beautiful, but that's a nice example just because by Cambridge standards, it's a much newer college because it was founded in the 18th century rather than being
right.
founded in the 14th, 15th, or 16th century. And it is a bit smaller and has a different kind of vibe. So how did you enjoy that? Did it feel substantially different when you went over there in terms of the dynamic among the students?
Yeah. I think people are happier outside of Trinity and Jones.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'd really like you to tackle this myth because when I was in Cambridge, admittedly a very long time ago, you would get a lot of Americans out, particularly at Trinity, because they would know the name. It is big, it is famous, Newton went there, whatever, and they'd be there. But then they would have difficulty meeting folks who weren't other Americans. And in fact, in Oxford, my husband is British and went to Magdalen College at Oxford as an undergrad. And that was his experience at Magdalen. Again, it's in the movies, everybody knows it, but then the Americans would be there'd be too many of them and they'd get isolated. Do you
Hmm.
feel like across sort of national groups and so forth and disciplinary groups that you are getting to know historians and people from whether it's Great Britain or other countries around the world, or do you feel like people are breaking off by subject area and citizenship in the grouping?
Well, um, I think it's unavoidable that people within the same subject area or citizenship or cultural background hang out with each other more. But for me, I have a good amount of friends that are European or that are British. I think, um, well, I think it's very nice to attend some of the social activities, like those free food activities at the very beginning of the year to meet a lot of people. And because all the new postgrads, at least in Trinity, they live in the same hostel, so so we all get to know each other very well. And then, well, personally for me, a good way to make friends is playing sports. I
Which
play.
sports are you playing?
So I did a bit of rowing when I first in the first term, because I heard it's like the quintessential Cambridge thing. So I tried rowing, and in my novice term I did quite well. So I met a lot of friends in the boat club, and um, surprisingly, my boat, which is like the top novice boat in Trinity, is heavily Eastern European. Yeah, we have. Uh, I think there's only two British person in the boat, and we have five Eastern Europeans, and me and Indian kid. So that was very multicultural.
And was
But a lot,
it a grad only boat? So back in the dark ages again, but we had this with a Northwestern alum who was at John. So she joined the women graduates boat. And so that used to
huh,
be a way that the if you were just rowing with other novice graduate students, it you weren't necessarily folks who were coming to Cambridge as undergrads, having rowed all their lives or whatever. But is yours novice across the board?
right. It's across the board, and so that's very interesting. I got to meet a lot of very young kids, and some like third year PhDs. Um, so I think rowing is a very good way to meet people across culture because it's not something that you know that's heavily dominated by Americans or Chinese in my case. Yeah, so that's very interesting. And also, Cambridge takes rowing very seriously. So, so I spent quite a lot of time practicing with my boat, and we all got very close to each other. Yeah, I quit it after the first term because I have to study, but it's quite a tall commitment. But it's a great way to make friends, and because it's very competitive, so we train very hard, and we kind of cheer each other on, and it's a great way to build friendship. Um, so so definitely will recommend rowing, and because it's a very important sport, so people are very nice. There are a lot of great coaches in pretty much all the colleges, and they're very nice to novices. Because I think most of the people are novice when they come to college, in terms of rowing. So most of the college they have a very strong novice program to teach people how to row. So I would definitely recommend that. Yeah.
Well, we're at the half-hour mark, so I think that's a lovely place to take you off the hot seat, Rossoneri, for the sort of introductory comments, and I will stop recording so